guess we went live without the.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to another Toronto Till I Die. I'm Mike Newell. With me, as always, Jeffrey P. Nesker and Michael Singh. Technical issues there. Normally we have our little intro, but it didn't happen. But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of live streaming. We'll just go right on with the show. Okay, well, listen, it's an exciting week. First week really back where we're going to have an actual game to talk about after Saturday, as your Toronto FC are going to take on FC Dallas to start the 2026 season. A lot to talk about in our preview show this week. We'll get to the new signings. We're going to talk a little bit about some projected starters for Saturday. May include some of those new signings. We'll do a couple of fun player over-unders like we do every year. We'll do our table predictions for 2026. And of course, we have John Molinaro joining us at around 7:30 or so. So as soon as John joins, we'll get him in here and get his thoughts on the upcoming season. But Mr. Nesker, Mr. Singh, how you doing? You ready for the new season? You psyched? You hyped for the 2026 season?
I mean, I want to sing happy birthday, but we'll get a takedown notice. So just happy birthday, Mike Newell. not in a sing song point. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah, but like how we honestly though, like, you know, how going into
today was a good day.
Yeah,
today was a good day. I mean, I think a lot of TFC live, certainly Raheem Edwards helped fan the flames of happiness, but the moves today, I think, were both a shock and a welcome surprise.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mike.
Appreciate
hopefully they got a nice birthday gift from TFC. Just interested to hear your take on some of the recent moves. The one today, obviously massive move, which I know we'll get into, but yeah, I mean, we're 2 days away from the start of the season. It seems like the off season is kind of just blinked, and here we are. Is this Toronto FC team ready? Is this team going to be able to get off to a better start than it did maybe a year ago? Let's see what happens.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because, you know, we were talking on the show last time, and obviously the comments have been coming in over the last sort of 2 weeks about the lack of signings, or I guess the feeling of a lack of urgency around signings. And that has been quelled somewhat with this week's news. It starts off with confirming Emilio Aristizabal. Please, somebody's going to
That was excellent.
get me in the comments for that pronunciation. But
by the way, that's why we were late starting the show, because
we were workshopping it, and that's what we came up with. So yeah,
that's totally why we were
late
late starting the show.
Nailed it.
Yeah, but Emilio Aristizabal will be coming in to either be our striker, to be a winger of some sort. We'll talk a little bit about where he might project in a moment, but we weren't done with bringing him in. We brought back an old favorite, an old friend. Raheem Edwards returns to Toronto FC, which is funny because we were all like having these great memories of Raheem Edwards. He played a handful of games, but it was in the 2017 season. It was in some important stretches down that stretch during that treble winning season. And of course, his sudden departure right after MLS Cup.
Right, like the day after.
Literally,
like horrific.
A couple of days after MLS Cup took everybody by surprise. But he is finally back. And then to potentially cap off the week, and there might be more, but let's sort of talk in what we know right now. Tom Bogert comes out and drops a Bogert bomb this morning that Toronto FC are on the verge of acquiring Daniel Shalhoub from Sporting Kansas City for about 300 GAM.
Pronunciation.
I don't bring a lot to the show, but I can bring pronunciation.
You bring so much to the show, including accurate pronunciation.
But yeah, 300 GAM plus add-ons afterwards. A lot of questions from SKC fans on what the hell's going on over there. Feels kind of similar, but. Guys, wanted to get your thoughts on the three new faces coming into TFC and how you think they slot in, improve the team, and address issues that we have talked about on this show. JPN, I'll start with you.
Wow, I thought you were going to go to Mikey Singh for sure. I don't know if I'm ready for this. One, I can't believe Raheem Edwards is 30 years old, but yes, I can. That move, especially, I mean, it felt like just like a no brainer. Once he was placed on waivers and they bought him out at New York Red Bull, it seemed an absolute no brainer. I mean, I'm a little concerned that Michael Bradley and Julian de Guzman did him so dirty as to buy him out. Like, that's not very nice, but it's good to see him back. I feel like nature's healing a little bit because, you know, that was so ridiculous. Like, I actually have a picture of him. He's the only guy facing my direction on the back of the tour bus during the parade. And I used it as like a harbinger of things to come, because like 2 days later, he was on LAFC for 5 seconds, and then he was on Montreal. And I think he's played at just about every club since. I think it's great depth on the left. And then, of course, Daniel Shalhoub. Wow, what a move. What an insane move. What a nice little surprise that was. This is the exact kind of player profile that I think we should be looking for. And I'm over the moon. I just hope that it crosses the line, because right now it's just Tom Bogart and all of us, speculating. But it's not official until we see that tweet from TFC, the official account. So here's hoping.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Raheem Edwards one is, I like the pickup a lot. Um, Essentially how waivers works too is like you put in a bid for like the amount of salary that you're willing to claim from uh for Raheem. So essentially, for those that don't know, Raheem Edwards is on about like 450K last season, which is probably pretty steep for his level of play last season. Now he's obviously MLS quality. I think he's shown his versatility. He's played in some pretty good sides. Obviously with Greg Manny in LA as well. So for us, I mean us, Toronto FC, to get a quality backup for probably close to league minimum, I think is a very nice piece of business. Not to mention, like you said, Jeff, like the ties that he has to the city. Like that's, I feel like Raheem Edwards is the definition of like a Toronto man's. Like that guy literally bleeds Toronto, and I think it's cool to see him back, joining the club in the role that he's going to be joining the club in. Not much pressure. He can go out. He can, add some, some dynamism. Is it the word? Speed, pace.
Yeah.
He's very pacey. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, 30 years old. He's coming to this point in his career, but I still think he's got a lot to give. So I really like the move to bring in Raheem Edwards. I think it's a good value move. Emilio Aristizabal. I mean, good luck pronouncing that one,
You
guys.
You got there.
Yeah.
EA. We'll just call him EA Sports.
I tried to do it really
done with
quickly
it.
so no one would notice, and then just made it.
Oh, I like that. EA Sports is a good nickname for him, I think. I
Yeah,
think I'm
EA
gonna try and
Sports, I
will
like
that into existence. But yeah.
So like, I mean, he's gonna be a number 9. He's a classic number 9. He's a goal scorer, very young player. He's the type of player Toronto FC should be going after with their U22 initiative slots. We know those slots can yield returns for Toronto FC in a couple of years, or other MLS clubs in a couple of years. And honestly, goals sell. And this guy's shown that he's at a young age has been able to put the ball in the back of the net. How will he translate to MLS? Will he be a, first player off the bench? Will he, still take some time to develop because he is still just very young? I think that remains to be seen. I don't know if anybody knows kind of the level he's at. Is he ready to be, be that starter on Saturday? Obviously, they still need to get Josh Sargent through the door, but is he a player that's capable in filling that starting number 9 role? I'm not too sure yet. I still think DeAndre Kerr probably has the upper hand, but I'm excited to see at least what he can bring to the table, and I think it speaks volumes as well to the coaching staff's confidence level in their striker core. And it seems like they needed to kind of freshen things up there and bring in some new bodies regardless, because obviously Kurzer, Vilsain, Hugo Mbonge was in camp, but clearly not at the level. They tried Derek Etienne Jr. out there during preseason. Hate that, by the way. and I think the coaching staff and Jason Hernandez did as well. So I mean, look, he's going to be a very interesting player to watch. Let's see how that one progresses. And obviously today, Daniel Shalaway, this one elevates Toronto FC, and it's a profile like you said, Jeff, that the team didn't have. I think Shalaway is the type of player too that will link up very well with like a creative number 10. And that's what Georgie essentially is. And to see them link up, I think there is going to be some natural chemistry. Obviously, you want to bring the number 9 into and Sargent and just have all three of them kind of cooking up top. He likes to play on the left side. I think they tried him out. I read that they tried him out as like a secondary shadow striker.
Yeah.
In preseason
this year in kind of like a new role. So gives maybe Ron Fraser some flexibility, but I imagine he slots in right away as Toronto FC's left winger. He doesn't have the pace that he once had. I think he's lost a bit of a step there. He is 29 years old, so he's not necessarily out of his prime, but I think his game has evolved a little bit, where he's more of a natural, like cut in type of player as opposed to being a player that makes runs in behind. Not to say that he can't do that, just I think he looks for the former more than the latter nowadays. But look, he's going to be a guy who has some flash to him. He's not going to be the guy who necessarily creates, but is capable of like finishing and is capable of producing the final product. But he won't be the guy that like just cooks everybody and beats 1, 2, 3 players. Like he can beat one player and then lay it off and connect with his teammates. But that's something TFC don't really have too much of, aside from like a Theo Corbeanu. They really don't have anybody that can do that.
Yeah, this will be interesting, especially with Saturday and how they want to set up the team. Because I mean, Shelby obviously's had almost no practice time with the squad, and probably by the time this gets officially announced, will literally just be joining the team in Dallas. By that point,
but he has had a preseason.
Had a preseason, so that is a good thing. So he will come in relatively fit, ready to go to start the season. Similar to Raheem Edwards as well. I think he was in camp with Red Bull as well until he was released. And then, I think Aristizabal will take a little bit more time to get up to speed in terms of fitness. But I think these are solid pickups, right? I think all three, what they do is the thing that we have been talking about over the last couple of months and even into the end of last season, which is deepen the pool of talent that you have and raise that floor. Exactly. And that's what this does. Again, we don't know, but Aristizabal, we don't know. He may turn out to be one of those U22 signings. He is coming on the U22 initiative. That ends up being a smash hit, right? That proves that this mechanism is a good thing that TFC should use more often. But the reality is TFC has had little to no success with the initiative so far. Yeah. And this, I think from this perspective, I think it's a solid move given where he's been so far in his career. Somebody who's had really only one full senior season and then a handful of appearances before that with Atletico Nacional. He was on loan last year or last season. So from that perspective, you deepen that number 9 pool. I do think, and this may be controversial, I think DeAndre Kerr actually starts on Saturday just simply for
that was my question. Yeah.
Familiarity's sake.
I don't think it's controversial at all.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think he's not going to start. I think a lot of people.
I think he starts, but I don't know if he plays 90 minutes
in or start Shallowy up top. But I don't think that's the case at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think Kerr showed enough during preseason that he at least earns the starting nod on Saturday, and not to say he has like a stranglehold over that spot or what, but I think he's earned at least the first 60 minutes or so. So right now, guys, 6 new signings through the door, assuming Shallowy gets done. And Shallowy's a trade, obviously, but still new face through the door. Is this enough for you guys to believe that Toronto FC are a lock to be a playoff team?
Well, we're going
Absolutely
to do our
not.
table predictions in a bit, but we can
Yeah.
talk about it a little bit. I don't know, Jeff, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I've said this a bunch of times, but I think this team, if they come out of the gate hot, they can ride that wave and that momentum into some interesting places. But if they lay eggs on this road trip before our home opener, I don't think this team has the mental fortitude to surmount that disadvantage. I think that they remember there's too much of a muscle memory, both institutionally and player to player, that's okay with mediocrity and failure, which is one of the complaints that I had with, obviously you're not going to rebuild the whole team, but it's definitely something that they're carrying in their back pocket. And I think if the results don't go their way, this team is going to crumple like a cheap suit. And that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, for me, I think this team, I don't know. I don't know. I think Travis probably says here, like, probably still need that magical number 9, right? You still need that piece. That said, though, what I've seen in preseason, what I saw at the end of last season, especially in the Orlando game, gives me cause to believe that this team is better. And I know that I think for some people that's going to be that's going to rankle them the wrong way, just simply because of how things went last season. Obviously, you end the way that you end, where you don't you only get the only win you get is at the very end of the season, from that long stretch. But I do think this team is better. I do think this team is
On paper,
better overall in position.
inarguable.
I think it's better on. I think it's better on paper in terms of the vibes in the team. And
Agreed.
I think that, I think that this team plays better football now, right? I think as a team, and they defend better. The question is going to be obviously the goals, right? That's really, to me, the only question. And that's the thing when we get to our table predictions, where I'm kind of hung up at this moment. And I think I tweeted it out earlier in the week. I think this could be a playoff team, like a low playoff, like a team that maybe has to do the play-in, gets a very low play-in spot or a playoff spot. It either can go that way, where it's pretty solid and they're there, or again, this could end up being a tire fire. The signings this week give me more belief that it will be closer to the former, that this team will be
Belief is
closer
a beautiful
to,
word, Mike.
somewhere
Hope is what
closer
kills
to a
you.
playoff team. Sure,
Mhm.
but I don't think it's completely unfounded. I really don't
I don't
think
either.
that is completely unfounded. I
don't
don't.
either.
Are they a playoff team? To answer your question, Michael, I can't say they're a lock. I can't say they're a lock. I think they can compete. I just don't think they're a lock.
I mean, it also needs to be said that like MLS is a league where 75% of the teams get into the playoffs and the other ones are woeful, like we've been for the last 5 years. So as long as we're not woeful, I think that that's a pretty good target to set for the team. 100%.
Fair enough. Michael, what do you
just
think?
objectively?
No, I don't think it's even close to a lock personally. Um, there's a lot for them to go out and prove, and hey,
That's fair.
that's kind of the game that they've been playing the last couple of years, right? It's tough for I feel like every offseason it's like, oh, we're a little bit more optimistic. We're a little bit more optimistic. Oh, there's
We
signs
have to.
here of them showing life, and I feel like they haven't been able to gain any stock there, and I'm not buying it until something else is proven. Look, they've made improvements defensively, sure. I think you're seeing the team play with a lot more energy, a lot more fight, which I think a lot of fans have been dying for. And I think fans are going to be pleased at that aspect of things. But kind of what you alluded to, Mike, like there still is a lot to be desired moving forward. For them to be the team that they want to be, it seems like they want to be a team that plays with the ball, that plays on the front foot, that wins the ball back quickly, all of those elements. But yet, do they have the personnel and the play style to be able um, to kind of get that done? And I think that remains to be seen. And when you look around MLS and you look at some of the moves that some of the other clubs are making, and obviously these are the elite, but look at Miami, look at Nashville. I mean, Nashville with Christian Espinoza, Honey Mukhtar,
Yeah.
Sam Stewart, like
Yeah. They're scary.
Though that's an attack.
It's a scary attack. It's very, very scary.
And and in the short period of time they played against Atletico Ottawa, I know it's Atletico Ottawa playing their first game in Champions Cup, but once they came on the field, they tore them in Hamilton.
Oh, they tore them apart. Tore them apart. Yeah. I have a question though, because I think that the East isn't as strong this season as it was last season. There's a lot of teams that are sort of in flux right now. They've got new gaffers, or in the case of Atlanta, new old gaffers, or in the case of Philadelphia or New York Red Bulls, for example, you've got real culture changes. I mean, Michael Bradley is not going to play energy drink football with these guys. Like I think that there is room for TFC to sort of eke their way. And of course, that's not satisfactory. We don't want our team to eke their way into anything, but I think that it's, I don't think it's a sure bet, but I'd be pretty disappointed if this team, if they can stay healthy, which is another matter entirely. This team doesn't strike me as an island of misfit toys like the last couple of seasons have. This team on paper has a shape, it has a color, it has a taste. The other one didn't. This looks like a team.
It does seem like there's more of an identity. But what's funny is like you just get the gauge of whether the fans or members of the media, and you hear, hey, this team could be like a 5th place team in the East, or this team could be like a last place team again. Like I feel like the spectrum is either really high, really no one really knows what this team's actually going to be in comparison to its competition. And part of that was, during preseason, while okay, they had a good preseason on record, no one really can definitively say like the level of competition they face is equivalent to what they'll face in Major League Soccer. So there's no real measuring stick for this team aside from maybe some glimpses last season and positive steps last season, and hoping that this team will be the same, take the same positive qualities from last season and just keep that momentum. I guess that's where the hope lies right now.
For sure.
And I think that that's a fatally flawed argument, because we don't have Sean Johnson in net anymore. And until we figure out that Luka Gavrin can hack it, resting on our laurels that we were a great defensive team and we drew all the time last season, there was a reason, and he's no longer wearing a TFC kit. So I do think that there's a flaw to that argument, and we're going to find out real quickly if Gavrin can hack it.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned, members of the media, things like that, thinking about where this team going to be, where could they end up. We have an esteemed member of that crew with us, bringing in your friend and ours, friend of the show, John Molinaro.
We both picked the button at the same time.
Yeah, from TFC Republic. John, thank you for joining. As always, great to have you back on.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the esteemed.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on with the Labubu behind you? Is that
Snorlax, right?
Snorlax. That's Snorlax.
Who's that?
Pokemon.
Oh, Jeffrey.
John's trying to make $15 million.
Dude, I know nothing about Pokemon. Like, I know Pikachu exists, but that's about it. Like, and that was a choice. Yeah,
I knew nothing before I met my girlfriend, and that's totally her influence. So there you go.
I like
she just snuck that in. She snuck that in for the shot.
It's good. It's good mise en scène, actually, but you got to tell her you need to balance it out. You need a Pikachu on the other side, or something on the other side. Yeah, definitely. We pissed somebody off.
Yeah. Well, John, listen. You were listening in a little bit in our conversation there prior to bringing you on, just in terms of Michael's question about where do we think this team is, and do we think it is a I may not go far as playoff lock, but I'll use Michael's question. Do you think this team could be a low seed playoff lock, or do you think this team could actually be better than what we're even giving it credit for,
or worse?
I think a low sort of playoff team like 8 or 9 would probably be the height of. If they were able to do that, I think I would be really surprised. I think that would be, quite an accomplishment. I kind of see them in that 10 to 12 sort of space in the Eastern Conference again. Possibly sneak in as a number 9, but certainly not a lock to make the playoffs. I mean, I think there are, I would suggest a series of questions that have to be asked of this team going forward. And they haven't kicked the ball yet. I mean, who knows? Preseason, I don't think you can read too much into what took place there. So it's just a wait and see. We'll wait and see how they do, right? I mean, it's 3 games on the road, and they have like 9 in a row at home after that.
Yeah.
Before closing out with 2 road games. So I think that first sort of block of section of the season before the FIFA World Cup could really sort of make or break or determine what kind of campaign it's going to be for them. So
Agree.
but a playoff team, maybe, but if it is, it's it's as the number 8 or number 9 seed. I don't see them as like a top 5 side or anything like that.
JMO, great to see you again.
You too, Michael.
What's in essence, like, what's the vibe around the team? Does it feel like the page has finally been turned from what that last era, let's call it, is or was? Does it feel like there's a lot of fresh blood in the building? Does it feel like that, let's call it the Insigne Bernardeschi era, does it feel like that is finally gone, or are there still lingering kind of elements to that around the squad that you got?
No, I think it's finally gone. Obviously, the Italians are gone.
Mhm.
A lot of this sort of bad contracts that they were saddled with are pretty much now off the books. When you think about Sigurd Rosted and Raul Petretta, not bringing them back next for this season, I think it was a smart move by Jason Hernandez. Not that Sean Johnson was on a bad contract, but he wasn't expensive. He was on an expensive deal. I mean, he was one of the highest paid goalkeepers in the league. So I think sort of not bringing him back and going with Luca Gavrin, that opened up some valuable salary cap room and gave the team some flexibility. So, when you look at it, I don't know that there's any outrageously bad contracts on this team right now. There's probably like a few you can think that might be a bit high, but not to the point where it was something like, Rosted, who was making upwards of 800 grand or something like that. So I think the job that Hernandez has done in kind of clearing the deck, so to speak, during the summer, when got rid of the DPs, brought in Georgi Mihailovic, and then this offseason cleared, some dead wood as well. I think it's helped them sort of move on from that previous era. But it's still very much a work in progress because when you look at the side, I still see some holes in this roster, and I think there are some concerns that I would have if I was a TFC fan about how they're going to do this year.
Yeah, like the reason I ask is because I remember John Herdman, and John would always say that I'm paraphrasing, but there was like members of that team that were essentially traumatized from what they had gone through.
I
And
remember that. Yeah.
I wonder if, because of all the changes, kind of like what you're referring to, and I know you don't really have the answer to this, if the page has finally been turned from that aspect, and now it's about looking forward this new era, and the wounds per se have healed for a lot of guys that are still part of this team, the Osos, the Richies, even like some of the younger guys like DeAndre and Alonso, who have been through so much losing, let's call it. Is it now a new mentality? But I guess we'll have to wait and see, just to see kind of how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent they've moved on from that era, but I don't think you can sort of underestimate the psychological sort of scars that the team has sort of like endured, right? When you think about, it's now 5 seasons without a playoff berth, and it's been 5 dreadful seasons. I mean, when you think about like 2 years ago when they were especially bad, that's not sort of terribly easy to get past, right? It takes time. And I know, it'd be wonderful if, you can just sort of snap your fingers and make that all go away, but it takes time. I mean, even when you think about, the era of, the 3 big DPs of Javinko and Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore, that took, probably until year or 2, right? For things to really kind of click and really see sort of the culture change, and to really see this team turn a corner and turn a page. So I think, it's probably the last thing that fans want to hear, but patience is going to be required here. This is going to, the team is still sort of digging itself out of like the rubble that it's found itself, buried under for a little bit. So this is going to take a little bit more time for them to get on the other side of things, I think.
Yeah, and it's a result-based thing. It's not something that they can do. It's something that they have to be passengers on, right? Which is which is the real issue. I mean, I get the sense from reading your previews, and I read everything you put out, that the vibe at TFC headquarters is a little bit demure right now, because everybody knows the questions that everybody's going to ask, which is, what the hell is happening with your major target, like, etc. I opened the show by saying I think a lot of the moves today have kind of papered over some of that ennui, but I don't think it's gone away. And I get the feeling that the team, especially the front office, are quite defensive about being asked these questions, and the excuses are, well, it's the schedule change and this and that and this, which is insulting our intelligence. I mean, every other MLS side has to deal with the same set of circumstances. We're not special. If anything, our incompetence makes us special. So I get the feeling that the front office is sort of dodging and ducking around those kind of obvious conclusions, and that doesn't fill me with a lot of pride. But I mean, the question I want to ask you is, what do you think? What is your take on the last week of TFC moves? I mean, we're talking Raheem, we're talking EA Sports, who I mean, I've watched his highlight reels, and I got to tell you, the kid looks amazing. I mean, he looks like just what the doctor ordered. Like, he's all gas, no brakes. He makes completely unselfish runs. Who knows if MLS is going to ruin him? And we're talking about another Erickson Gallardo here. But from his dubstep, highlight reels, kid looks amazing. My question is, do you agree that these were shrewd business moves, or was Hernandez just scraping the bottom of the barrel here? Because I look at something like Shallowy. I have to keep looking at how to pronounce his name. I look at something like Shallowy, and I think that that's shrewd business. But I'm asking you, is it? Am I sort of being myopic here?
No, I think it's all been pretty shrewd business when you think about someone like Raheem Edwards. Getting him off waivers. I think he's going to be a valuable sort of depth piece. Probably start sometimes and lend back and serve as a backup sometimes. But the fact that they were able to get him off waivers, pretty much means that his salary cap hit is going to be, pretty minimal. So, for something like that, I think that's a shrewd piece of business, just considering his sort of profile and the level of his experience. The Colombian Emilio, whose last name I'm not going to.
It's EA Sports, guys. I'm willing that into existence.
Yeah. Same thing. I mean, he's signed as a U22 initiative player, so his salary cap hit is only going to be between 150,000 to 200,000 US. So I think that's worth a gamble. I mean, South American players are something. It's a market that I don't think TFC have necessarily had a great deal of success with and necessarily tapped into enough. So to say nothing of the fact that they haven't really sort of used that U22 initiative all that much. I mean, I think about, Io Akinola and Cassius Mailula being the only two ones. So it's, if I was a TFC fan, you'd think you'd want to see them invest in that space a little bit more, because of, you're investing in someone at a very minimal cost in terms of, salary cap hit. So you still have quite a bit of, flexibility and options. So again, I think it's a pretty shrewd move. And as far as Daniel's, again, I'm not
Shallowy.
I think, considering if the numbers from what we're hearing are true, about 300K in sort of general allocation plus add-ons, I think that's a pretty shrewd business move again. He's 29 years old. I appreciate the last 3 seasons are, his offensive production have come down, considering what he did in 2021 when it was like, 16
Lights
goals,
assists.
Yeah. He was an MLS MVP candidate. But at 29, I still think he has plenty of gas left in the tank, and he can sort of be, a real contributor potentially for TFC. I mean, I said, and I've been kind of writing this for a long times, everyone's so focused on the DP space, which absolutely they should be. That's important. I think if you get your DPs right, then that's a huge sort of win for any MLS club.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've said that, on top of that, that can't be the end all and be all for this club. They really had to go out and get a TAM level sort of attacker to, help improve their offensive fortunes. And so I think, Daniel can help do that. So I like all 3 moves. I think they're shrewd moves from a footballing perspective and a business perspective, but it shouldn't sort of overshadow the fact that they still have to get their DP spot never right. And I think there are other holes to fill in this roster. I don't know how much you want to go into this, but I still think they need another center back. I look at someone like, Walker Zimmerman comes with a great resume, and he's 32. So again, I mean, wrong side of 30, but he's a young 32. I still think he can contribute. But, he has lost a little bit of space, and he's playing, with center backs in Zane Monlouis and Nixon Gomes, who missed most of last season through injury. Adam Perlman spent all of last season on loan in Halifax in the CPL. Lazar Stefanovic, who I'm quite high on, is still a young and inexperienced player. So that's a pretty young core of center backs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nothing, in fact, they're going to be playing in front of a new starting goalkeeper in Luca Gavrin. So
there it
you
is.
would have liked to have seen, GM Jason Hernandez bring in another sort of experienced center back just to give him, a solid partner alongside Walker Zimmerman. So I think for me, that's kind of like one of the still, the biggest holes that they have to fill. I really think just adding some more depth at the center back position, someone who can start on a regular basis or be that number 3 center back is something that, if I was GM, I would try to get that done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's something I've been kind of harping on, in the sense that it's great to have Walker Zimmerman. It's great to have that anchor center back. But to build a solid partnership, that's what really makes that spine of the team work. And I think you're getting the pieces higher up in terms of, it looks like they're kind of established with Cifuentes and Cuejo as sort of those two holding mids. You may swap out Oso from time to time. But that other center back is kind of up in the air. It feels like week by week you could change the center back that's playing with Zimmerman. A lot of people are thinking, hey, maybe you slot Kosi Thompson in for a bit. You could play Richie there in a pinch. You talked about Monlouis. You talked about Nixon Gomes, who isn't fully fit yet. So from that perspective, I think that's something that I'd like to see, is a center back to come in and be a solid 2 that is going to be the anchor of your defense. And then, of course, then you can slot in one of those guys who can battle for that third spot. I think that's a little healthier than just saying, okay, well, it's going to be Zane or it's going to be Nixon, and we hope it all works out. But from that perspective, I kind of get why you may not want to spend a ton in that position when you are looking for a high priced number 9. And I know you said, we should be looking at other areas than the number 9, but we're sickos and we want to talk about the DP number 9, because that's what everybody wants to talk about.
Are we being greedy? I mean, like, Walker Zimmerman is worth 2 center backs, let's be honest. And like, when we were winning, it was like Drew Moore and Chris Mavinga, and then below them in the depth chart, was like Zavaleta. So I'm just wondering, like, are we sort of shooting for the moon here? We've got Zimmerman and 2 Chris Mavingas. We've got Zane and Nixon. I mean, as long as they stay healthy, I don't see. But I mean,
that's a pretty big gift, Jeffrey.
Well, here's my other thing. Like, we figured out the left. When I was doing guest hits last week, our depth at left was a guy that, Matthews Perea, who we haven't seen at all, and Derek Etienne Jr., right? And we've definitely solidified that side of the pitch, but now we're potentially taking minutes away from Kobe Franklin and Kosi Thompson. And
I don't know if
can't we are we forgetting those guys can put in a shift? Like, maybe not Franklin as a center back.
I don't think we're forgetting that they can put in a shift, but I mean, again, I just point to the fact, when you look at that sort of back line, that's a lot of young bodies, right? I mean, it's a lot of sort of young sort of players who don't have, nearly the same experience level as Walker Zimmerman does. I mean, even Henry Wingo, again,
forgot about him.
Yeah. No bad contracts. I was like going to say Henry Wingo. I was coughing.
Like, a lot of, he has experience, but not in MLS. I mean, when he played for Seattle previously, he didn't really play a lot. And, he's essentially missed the last season and a half. So that's why I think you really have to make a case for bringing in someone with a little bit more experience as a center back to be that number 2 or even that number 3. I'm not opposed to, Walker Zimmerman partnering with Monlouis and Gomes, but I would feel, if I was a TFC fan, I think I'd feel a whole lot more comfortable if there was another MLS sort of tested center back that you can call upon just to give a little bit more added depth. And again, especially now, because Luca Gavrin is going to be in his first full season as a center back, I think you really want to sort of solidify things at the back when you're testing, a young goalkeeper who, has played, I think, 16 games in MLS.
Yikes.
Not a lot. I
Yeah.
appreciate that everyone is quite high on him, and they obviously think he's ready to be a starter. But it does say something that they brought in William Yarbrough, too, during the offseason because, again, he's a much more experienced player who's played in MLS and in Mexico. And I think it's exactly the type of backup that they need because should Gavrin falter or the occasion becomes too much for him, then they have someone that they can easily slot in from that number one. And he's played under Robin before. I mean, he was a key figure for Colorado when it won or finished first place in the Western Conference that year. So, I think that was a shrewd move. So, but just to get back to the center back thing, I really think, bringing in another quality central defender who has, MLS experience under his belt more so than the rest of the guys do.
Who's on waivers and can they play center back? Let's go.
Well, yeah.
Well, like that's the thing. I mean, you make a good point. I mean, it is a little bit different this year because you do have Nixon, you do have Zane Malawi, you do have Lazar Stefanovic, who I think has shown a lot of promise and shown a lot of potential of stepping into that role. You do have other players, Kosi, that can slot in. Like there are young players that can slot in and play center back, and I know I get the sense that Jason Hernandez wants to see if one of those players emerges and becomes that regular starter beside Walker Zimmerman. But then it does, scream the question, like, what happens, knock on wood, if something happens to Walker Zimmerman? Then all of a sudden your most experienced center back is 21, 22, 23 years old, whatever Kosi Thompson's age is, as he's not really a center back even, but that is, a valid point. But hey, only on this show can we go 10 minutes about talking about Toronto FC's backup center backs and
sickos.
But I gotta bring up from a comment from the Rogues Gallery just really quickly. The last couple of signings, and it's by Bushido Jujitsuma. The last couple of signings, it felt more like they're rushing to be roster compliant than getting their actual targets. But until we see them step on the pitch, it's going to be hard to tell now. That's a very cynical take. I wonder, do you have any agreement with that? I mean, certainly there was a rush to get roster compliant, but I don't think we're like Sporting Kansas City level panic yet.
Yeah, I think that's a bit cynical. I mean, they could have easily, there was a number of sort of players on the supplemental roster, whether it was Kosi Thompson or Kobe Franklin, DeAndre Kerr, that, they could have potentially, converted into senior roster team players if that was going to be an issue. So, no, I think, these are signed. I mean, look, the Raheem Edwards thing was kind of not.
It's
rushed.
Official.
Yeah,
Daniel Shallowy. It's official. It just got announced.
Oh well, then there you go. Raheem was kind of like not out of the blue, but this wasn't something that they, was going to like. It kind of happened last minute. You know what I mean? But in terms of the other moves, these are ones that they had been working on for some time. So I don't think they were in a rush to, these moves weren't made in a rush to become roster compliant.
To that point though, JMO, I feel like at the start of the offseason, Jason Hernandez and company made it very clear that their objective was to have players in for training camp. Are you surprised at all that the way the offseason has played out in terms of the lack of player movement for the majority of offseason? Obviously, we know the Josh Sargent sag is very well documented. We know exactly kind of what's been going on there. But overall, are you surprised that it's been taking so long for Jason Hernandez to cook over here and bring in some new players for TFC?
Yes and no. I mean, on the one hand, it's like you said. I mean, ideally, a lot of these guys would have been in place, before they either went to Spain or like arrived in Spain, and they would be able to get some time to, embed themselves with their new teammates. And Robin would have had a bit of time to work with them. So yeah, I think in an ideal world, I mean, it is disappointing. On the other hand, it doesn't surprise me just because I think, and I don't know, I mean, I can't sort of speak to this without any sort of real inside knowledge, but I can't help but wonder if maybe, Hernandez is just being extra cautious, maybe a little gun shy just because of recent signings that haven't sort of worked out, which probably explains why, they've taken some guys on loans more so in recent years. When you think about Theo Corbianu, they saw enough in him that, they made him a permanent signing. Whereas, the Ola Brynhildsen thing was clearly a bust and didn't work out, and they cut their losses right away. So I wonder if that sort of has colored his decision making in terms of, ideally we want to be as nimble as possible and get these guys in, but we really have to do our due diligence and make sure, and sort of, leave no stone unturned in terms of when you're considering bringing someone in. So, yeah, not terribly surprised just when you look at the recent history that maybe it's taking a little bit longer than normal to get things done.
And I think you also have to include a margin for players probably don't want to come here. You probably have to sweeten the deal to get them to sign for TFC. And
I don't know about that. Like, I get what you're saying because of how but I think Toronto FC is still a destination players want to go to. One for what
I think Daniel Shallowy is going to love this place and never leave. He's a Renaissance man and he loves coffee. I think Toronto is his like home away from home. That being said, come on, man. Like, not the reason that MLS has the stupid discovery rights is that every single European player, if given their own volition, is going to New York or LA or Miami, right? Like, that was why that scheme was introduced. You have to allow for a margin that, like, hey, come to the team that we paid Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi and a king's ransom to sit around and do nothing. Like, hey, have you been in the playoffs? No, we haven't sniffed it in 5 years. Like, oh, sign me up. Let's go.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like, you end up getting arguably the top center back on the free agent class to sign here without a lot of issue. Right. In the last couple of years, even though they haven't fully worked out from a free agent perspective, TFC has still been able to draw free agents to this club because I think the club still has, results aside, a good standing within the player base. The facilities are still top.
They got Sean Johnson to re-sign here. Like that,
right.
That to me was the ultimate indicator.
But I mean, you look at this Josh Sargent saga, right? And it's hard not to divine from it that, like, we are in a catch-22. Like, we don't want to overpay because that's craziness and we're in a salary cap league. But, our dance partners are all like, hey, we don't care. Like, this is what we want and you're going to pay it or go walk. And I think that, a more fleet-footed front office would have moved on from this move. I think that sitting on our hands here is really, really showing our naivete and our inability to to flip. And I don't even want him. I mean, I guess that's my question, John. What is your opinion on Josh Sargent?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Like, do you even want him here at this point? Ooh, I stumped John.
Do I want him? Look, I think he sort of fits the profile of the type of DP forward that they need. I mean, he scored, on a pretty regular basis for Norwich City during his time there at in the championship, which is a pretty high level. Young player, still in his mid to mid 20s, so plenty of gas left in the tank. An aggressive player. I think he would fit in well with Robin Fraser's sort of playing style of being sort of on the front foot and being an aggressive and try to play on the front foot and really try to force things. Do I think he's worth an 18 million US transfer bid, or it's probably going to take more? No, I don't. And so I worry about that because if God forbid this doesn't sort of work out for them, then how willing is MLSE going to sort of
John, we say that all the time, right? We said that about Soteldo, and then we said, oh, they're not going to do that again. And then we said that about Insigne and Bernardeschi, and they're not going to do that again. They're going to they're going to pump the horses, and they're going to stop the spending. And then they're willing to spend $18 million on Josh Sargent, which I agree with you. That's a lot for Josh Sargent. But I don't think this club is ever going to be in a position where they're not going to be willing to spend that kind of money on
no dispute. But our dance partners are going to be whittled down to like the worst party, like the worst blunt rotation you've ever had in your entire life.
I think
like,
we're just in a unique situation here. Like and
I don't
blame Norwich at all, right? If the player downs tools and says, I want to leave, and he's in the middle of a contract and you're not ready to sell.
What do you ask for his evaluation from 6 months ago?
Well, I mean
that's insanity.
You ask for the money that you want to get, and you either get it or you don't, or you make some kind of deal. But
and then you pump your chest and you say we're fine having him exiled to the U21s for like
out of the
but they're still paying his salary. Norwich are not owned by some oligarch. Like they're still paying his salary to train with the U21s, and every day that he does. That Werder Bremen evaluation, that's complete fantasy land, becomes even more fantasy land, right? And we're riding the coattails here. It's a bad look. It's a really bad look. I don't think there's any way around it.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, but anyways, talking back to Josh Sargent though, JMO, like, if TFC bring in Josh Sargent, does it elevate their status enough where
great question
you would say, okay, this Toronto FC team now is a playoff lock?
No, I still think there is sort of major questions to be asked. I think, I don't think there's any doubt that they become a better team with Josh Sargent. Especially if he can link up effectively with the likes of Georgi Mihailovic and the others in the attack. But this is not, a one-player solution, for TFC. I think there's when you look at the past 5 years, there's a lot to overcome there. I mean, bringing in the Italians, at the height of their, careers with plenty of gas left in the tank, didn't sort of like change things, in terms, didn't make them a playoff contender, even close to a playoff contender. So
nope.
I don't think Josh Sargent is going to instantly sort of make them a playoff lock. He makes them a better team potentially, but I don't think you can say, oh, definitively they're going to be like never mind an MLS Cup contender, but a lock to make the playoffs.
Yeah. The thought of, even when it was rumored, like I've trolled that guy mercilessly when he was playing for the U.S. men's national team, and I don't ever want to see him. I don't ever want to see him in a TFC shirt. I'm sorry, and this just makes it even clearer. But
I mean, look, I think to John's point, I think he is the right profile. Is it a lot? Yes. But if you're going to prize a striker in the middle of a contract from a championship club trying to fight relegation, they're going to ask you for a lot of money. That's just the reality of things. And the question is if he's your guy, as I've said on the show before, all right, go do what you got to do to get your guy. If he's your A1, and it looks like he's the A1, and according to Gareth Wheeler, breakthrough is maybe close or closer than it has been in the last couple of weeks since this story has broke. So we'll see, if this gets done even before Saturday or maybe just after. But for now, with the new signings coming in, with how things are shaping up, this team is at least up top, I guess you can say, a bit deeper than it was at the beginning of the week or 2 weeks ago, when we were bemoaning where the signings were coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So John, I know I asked you for like 10 minutes and now you've been on for almost half an hour. If you're open to staying, you may want to stick around for some fun over-unders and some table predictions. I know you hate predictions, but
sure.
If you want to stick around for that, that would be awesome.
Okay, let's do them.
So got a couple of fun 2026 over-unders that we can take a look at here. I know we do this annually on our preview show. And then we go back at the end of the year and look how horribly wrong we were about all of them. Though I feel like Mr. Singh, you got a few right.
Mr. Singh
last year
absolutely murdered it last year. It was ridiculous. He was like the TFC whisperer.
Why are you guys surprised? Why do you guys act so No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's you have two options, either yes or no, and I don't know. I got lucky.
All right. I've got a few
Let's
for a
go.
couple of players here, and then we'll get into our table predictions. So the first one is the new number one goalkeeper, at least for now, Luka Gavran, and the over/under is over/under 5 shutouts, 5 clean sheets this season. Obviously, the data, there isn't a ton of data on him, as he's only played 16 matches for TFC. But I think Sean Johnson had 6 last season. If I'm right, if I looked at my stats right, he had 6,
something like that. Yeah.
So,
is this all competitions or just MLS?
Yeah, let's make it all comps. I think
all comps. Okay, let's go all comps because he may not even play all the cup games. But
over/under is 5.
Over/under on 5 clean sheets this season.
Okay. Try to do for food. Try to do like a half, like 5.5 or
5.5. Okay, let's go 5.5. Let's go 5.5 clean sheets.
5.5. I'm gonna go under.
Okay. How come?
I mean, he's played 15 matches in his career. He's playing in front of a back line that, as we dove in for 20 minutes of this episode, are very very inexperienced for the most part. And I don't think TFC has enough up top right now to relieve that pressure that they're going to naturally absorb. So I think he still has a lot to prove. And if Sean Johnson is getting 6 in front of a much improved back line last season, I don't see how Luka Gavran matches that unless he has some kind of superstar impressive Sean Johnson like season.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Mr. Husker.
Same. I would go below 5.5 for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
enough.
mean,
I'm not good enough at FB Brief or American Soccer Analytics to get the stat, but I like, what's the average clean sheet across MLS? Like number of clean sheets for any goalkeeper, and I don't know what I'm gonna have to say
the league is, but
I'm gonna have to say under, just because that's hewing close to Sean Johnson's numbers last year, and he was a dynamo. Like I just don't see Gavran having that kind of performance.
Fair.
How about you?
If we're saying all comps, I'll just be contrarian and go over. Right. And I'll say 1 to be contrarian, but also 2, if he's going to get some opportunities in the Canadian Championship, considering the Canadian starter rules, he may play. So there's an opportunity there, though their first test is against Atletico Ottawa, and that's not easy at all. But I will go over for 2 reasons. 1, I do think that the overall team defending is better than it was. So yes, we've talked about the center backs and talked about the defenders themselves, but I think as a team, defensively, they're better structured and more disciplined from that perspective. So I think that will help. I don't think it's going to be pretty watching all of the time. You may get some drab 0-0s, some sitting behind the ball a lot. So that might happen. So that's one reason. I think the second reason is I do believe that Luka Gavran, not Sean Johnson, clearly, but I think he is a good shot stopper, and I think he's somebody who is going to fill the boots well. I don't think he's going to necessarily be Sean Johnson heroics, because I don't think he's going to need it as often. But I think he's a solid goalkeeper who will get better as he plays more games in this first team and builds those relationships. I mean, he's got great relationships in the team now, but it's a little bit different when you're the number one week in, week out. So I will go over on that, but it's like a very slight over. I think he gets to like
that's
6.
Fair. Probably the second biggest question mark on this TFC squad this season is going to be the performance of Luka Gavran. First is going to be where the heck the goals are going to come from. But second, I would say, is definitely Luka Gavran's performance. But I also, why I went under 2, I should have added this, is I also don't know if he plays like 90% of the matches like a Sean Johnson did last season. I think Robin Fraser is definitely very high on Yarbrough. And I don't know if it's going to be that big of a split. And I don't know if he like has it unlocked the entire season. So that's also part of the reason why I went under.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Fair enough.
Number
Okay.
2.
So we got 3 unders and 1 over. So we'll clip that.
I'm logging it, baby.
When we're horribly wrong at the end of the season, we'll go back and look at this. Okay. Next one I've got on Georgi Mihailovic, the DP number 10. First full season with Toronto FC is gonna, from all accounts, from the way we're looking at this team right now, is going to have a massive, maybe MVP type season to maybe get TFC into the playoffs this season. And this definitely has the capabilities to do that. But for Georgie, part of this is going to have to be goals and assists. He's going to have to be able to not just create them, but also score them as well for this team to go where it wants to go. I believe last season, goals and assists, he was around either
4
16,
for 10. 4
yeah.
for 10, it says here. I don't have
4 for
assists
10?
on
Okay.
there.
And
13
goals,
goals,
10
7 assists in 34 matches.
Okay, right. So, yeah. So then in the 17, 18
Oh,
range.
including the, Colorado.
So over under total goals and assists at 20 and a half. 20 and a half goals and assists.
Ooh,
Wow. What is he, Messi? Like under. I'm smashing that under button. That would no, he's not pulling double digits like that.
Okay.
I'm going to go over. I think the reason why I'm going to go over is because the only way Toronto FC is going to create offense this season that I see right now is going to be through Georgi Mihailovic. And I think he's just going to be such a key component to this team in terms of, just chance creation. And also you have to guess he's going to be the guy stepping up and taking penalties for this team too. I think that's also a huge factor. So 13 goals, 7 assists on a poor Colorado team, on a TFC team, which I think he had a quiet, essentially goal assist per game during his tenure when he first arrived. And now he has more, let's call it, potential weapons around him. I think over.
What was the number again? 20 and a half?
Yeah.
20 and a half.
20 and a half combined goals and assists.
7 assists.
I would go over too. I mean, I think you look at him, like when he came into Toronto, he kind of hit the ground running last year. I mean, he had 4 goals and 4 assists in only 10 games, which, tied him for the most goal contributions on the team.
Yeah.
That's a pretty low bar, but still, I mean, he sort of acclimated himself to the situation pretty quickly. Now he's going to have a full preseason under his belt. He's already sort of formed some valuable on-field relationships with some of TFC guys. And so I could totally see him going over 20 and a half goal contributions this season.
Noel?
Okay. Yeah, I'm over. I think it'll be over. I think that said, I think, what will be the differentiator? I think he'll have more assists than goals. I think they'll find somebody to score goals, and whether that be Josh Sargent,
is EA Sports,
Shallowy, or Aristizabal, maybe he comes to. I think he will be somebody who can provide a lot of opportunities for players. He is kind of that player we've been asking for the last couple of years, right? Somebody who can play between lines, pick passes, break down a team that's either sitting deep or sitting on a particular player and make something happen out of nothing. And I think he can be that player. Of course, health will be the big thing, right? Can he stay healthy? That will be a massive thing for him. But if he can, I think he can be over that number. And I think he can actually maybe potentially be over that number comfortably. The question then becomes, is that like an MVP type season? Is that enough? That will be the question. That we won't know. But I'm going to go over on that. So we've got 3 overs and 1 under on that one as well.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Any more? Was that it?
Yeah. No, I've got 2 more. All right.
Cool.
So and I'm just trying to pull up the stat, but it is a little slow at the moment, so apologize. But Jonathan Osorio, and one of the big things that we've been talking about on the show is, is he still a starter? Is he somebody that should be logging the amount of minutes that he traditionally logs on this team? And I've had I've made my feelings felt. You all have as well. But I believe this is in all competitions, 24 appearances in all competitions, 21 starts, 1900 minutes. And over under that he plays, I want to say 25 and a half. Yeah, let's go 25 and a half. That actually, let's go higher. Let's say Jonathan Osorio played 28 and a half matches for Toronto FC this season in all competitions.
Doesn't have to start.
Doesn't necessarily have to start.
Over.
But 28 and a half appearances for Toronto FC this season.
20 and a half?
28 and a half.
Oh, 28.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's just basically a health question. Like, is he going to stay? Because he's going to play, like, whether it's off the bench or whether he starts, like, he's going to get in matches. It's just, you're essentially asking, will he stay healthy for, 3/4 of the season?
Yeah.
I'm going to go over.
Yeah. I think that's a no-brainer.
Well, I mean, you never know with his injury history. I think it's tough, but obviously in a World Cup year, he'll be extra motivated to be on the pitch. With TFC, the way that they're trending, probably be extra motivated to be on the pitch. I'm gonna go over, and I think TFC are able to make like a deeper, still a deep Canadian Championship run too. So that's another potentially three matches right there too. So
yeah, it's over. What about you, JMO?
If the number is 28 and a half, then I would say under.
Wow.
Yeah, I just think when you look at his like statistically, he hasn't hit like 28 games in MLS since 2018 when he played 30 games. So, early in his career he had that sort of like he was hitting that sort of 27, 28 game plateau on a pretty regular basis, but since then it's kind of been 24, 22 in that sort of range. So and now he's what, 33, 32?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him suddenly, getting up to 28 games after only playing in 24 MLS games last year.
He just got married. He may have to take some time off for the eventual baby that's going to happen like later in the season. So
maybe,
maybe it is an under.
You're presuming a lot there, buddy. Yeah, I am also going to go under, but not necessarily for the health reasons. Part of it will be, being away with the national team potentially, but I also think there could be more rotation for him in the team, right? With some of these signings that are coming in, you start to figure out, okay, where is he going to play in the team, and where is he best fit into the team? Like, look, obviously, if he's healthy and the best TFC probably still has a Jonathan Osorio in the roster or in the 11 somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there will be some more rotation with him. I think there's going to be a little bit more experimentation in terms of, that midfield 3-4, if you want to call that sort of depending on how the team lines up, obviously. But I think he may just be under that because it's going to be a little bit more like, hey, you know what, for particular games, he may sit out, maybe be on the bench and not used. But again, that will still get close. I still think he can get close to that number. I just don't know if he's going to eclipse a 28 and a half. Partly it could be due to
so
health,
that's a
partly
split.
I think it's going to be
2-2 split.
I'd be shocked if he's on the bench and not used.
Me too.
I think it'd be tough for me to see at this point in his career if Jonathan Osorio is actually available and can give you 10, 15 minutes off the bench, how you don't use him in all situations, whether you need a goal or whether you're trying to defend a lead and you want experience to bring on the pitch. I don't see how he doesn't feature.
I agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Number 4.
Okay. Last one I'm going to have here. And this is a tough one because I was thinking a bit about this in terms of, the player, the sort of situation that we're in right now, and potentially this being sort of like a a situation where they may be bringing in people to potentially replace him. But Theo Corbianu, played a lot last year. I think he ended up being, third in minutes last year overall for the team.
Played a lot of minutes, yeah.
He did play a lot of minutes. And similar question sort of to Georgie in terms of his contributions to this team. We've now picked him up on a full for the $1.5 million, I think it was, to Granada to buy him permanently. Again, similar question in terms of the goals and assists. I'm wondering, last year he finished with 8, 6 goals, 2 assists. Again, over under on him cracking double digits, so I'll go 10.5 goals and assists for Theo Corbianu.
Under.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Underwhelmed isn't the right word, but I just thought, I don't know, I was expecting a lot more from him last year, and 8 goal contributions. It's, I don't know.
Yeah,
like you said,
2,300 minutes too. 2,300 minutes.
Yeah, it was just over 2,300 minutes. That's not like a lot. And you would have expected more production out of him, especially in terms of setting teammates up on goal scoring chances. He only had 2 assists.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. I just think, I'd be shocked if he gets over 10 goal contributions this year.
I mean, yeah, I hope he proves us all wrong.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I
think best case scenario, it's slightly under, and that's best case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing about Theo is the reason why he had 6 goals, I have it 3 assists, maybe it was 2 assists, whatever that number is, was because he was also, for a lot of the season, he was the guy for Toronto FC. The number of times he would be isolated on the wing, he was the only person really for Toronto FC that offered anything going forward for a long portion of that season, would take on 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys, and at the end of the day, someone has to create, and a lot of bounces are going to go your way, and I think that happened a lot for Theo last season. If he's able to improve his decision making in the final third, he can probably eclipse that number. And if he's able to find some trust between him and Georgie, and potentially a number 9 who comes in, he can eclipse that number. But I felt like too many times last season it was all about him and maybe some poor decision making in the final third, and that's why I think his contributions was a bit inflated. But I'm hoping this is the Theo season.
It should be noted too. I mean, of those 6 goals, 2 of them came against that 6-1 win against Montreal.
That route, yeah.
And he came on as a sub when they were already up 4-1 or whatever. And he got 2 goals in the last 28 minutes when the game was pretty much out of hand. So I mean, that's
I was in an
that's a third of his goal production last year.
Yeah, I'm actually agreeing with you guys. I think it's under as well, but I think he will be a guy who will benefit again from Georgie in the sense that I think he'll score goals more than assists. Which for a winger is
the
that
complete opposite of what we need him to do.
Exactly, but that will be for Robin Fraser to decide. But I think he will bag goals. I just don't think he's going to get to 10. It's probably going to be an assist or maybe 2 again this year. But he may bag, an extra goal here or there because of his link up play and relationship with Georgi Mihailovic and just the ability to be able to find him in good spots. But let's hope he proves us wrong, because I also see a world where he does prove us wrong.
100%.
I do.
He's a flat track bully, so if we play a lot of lower sides, he can really stack up those goal contributions.
Josh Sargent comes into play, and all of a sudden, they have someone who they can whip in Grosses to a little bit more, or find someone in the box a little bit more than maybe they had in the past. So maybe that factors into some of that too. It'll be a different, Theo Corbianu is again another really interesting player to watch this season, because it's going to be a completely different kind of attacking setup that they had, or that they're going to have this year, than they had a year ago, where, like I said, Theo just had license to do whatever he wants. Now he's going to be playing in more of a tighter system, where a lot of other people are going to be wanting the ball in that attacking third, and they just didn't have that last season. So let's see.
We'll
let's
see.
see.
He may not even play Saturday because I don't think he's fit. So
Yeah, I think he's carrying a knock. Yeah.
Yeah, so more likely he doesn't even play Saturday. Okay, let's wrap it up, guys, with our table predictions for the 2026 season, where we think TFC is going to land in the Eastern Conference. We kind of previewed this a little bit earlier.
What did the LLMs that MLS employs say?
MLS employee, great question. MLSsoccer.com, the marketing
Yeah.
engine that it is.
Yeah, 00100. Got to divine what.
Yeah,
binary
they
code
had
was.
Toronto FC 13th in the Eastern Conference.
Lucky number 13.
Ahead of who did they have us ahead of?
FC
Ahead of
Dallas
Montreal and
FC Dallas. That's it.
And DC United.
Oh, sorry, DC United. Yeah.
I think they had this. I think it was DC United. They had
suddenly FC Dallas
dead
are in the
last.
Eastern Conference, guys. Did you know?
We're back to 2009 MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, just rules are pretty simple. Where you think Toronto FC is going to finish in the table, and
Casey,
why?
that's hilarious. The chat saying, how old is TFC's average age? And Casey said, lower body injury old. Lower body injury years old. That's really, really funny.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
John, I'll start with you. I know you hate predictions, but since you decided to stick around, we're going to start with you.
Just going based on the roster as it is right now. I'm not assuming that Josh Sargent gets done. I'm not assuming that more signings are sort of coming in. Just sort of based on who they have.
Don't try and protect yourself, John.
I'm just
chill out there.
I'm just
He's still going to say MLS Cup. MLS Cup winners. The roster as it stands. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 10th.
I think that's a very fair assessment.
Yeah, it's higher than I thought.
Me too.
Okay, Mr. Singh.
I'm doing it based off the fact I think they're not going to make just one key sign. I think they're going to make 2 additional key signings, and I think they're going to end up in 6th.
Wow!
For somebody who said they weren't going to be a lock for the postseason
right now,
you now have
now they're not a lock.
And who just chided JMO for protecting his ass. He's like, yeah, they're going to suck, but also they're going to come in 6th. Like, my goodness. What a mockery of these predictions is going on right now. What about you? I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I guess it's my turn. I like Casey's shout of number 9 just to be ironic, so I think I'm going to go with it. Like, I think we'll finish 9th.
Okay.
Without a number 9.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And mine, yeah, I think I'm probably where JMO is, where I think they're 10th. I think they squeak in. Nah, forget it. I'm going 8th. I think they'll go 8th. I think they'll go 8th. I think 8th. For a couple of reasons. One, I agree with this thing. I think that they'll make some more signings.
Got a full house or a straight. Sorry, we've almost got.
But I also think, like, I do think this team there's something about it. There's no reasonable thing to say that I can be like, okay, I can say that that's the thing. I just think that if they can stay healthy, and I look at this team, and I look at the vibes in this team, and I look at how this team sort of put things together at the end of last season, I think they can. I think they can do well. I think they can do better than people think they are going to do. Again, I also do recognize that there is a very other side of this coin where this all becomes a tire fire, and they really do.
It all goes right to pot immediately,
right?
Yeah.
But I'm choosing hope. It's my birthday, man. I'm choosing hope.
Man, Travis got it nailed. We are so much more optimistic. I thought we'd be way more cynical, but we are drinking the.
Well, the last 2 seasons, I think we've all been pretty accurate. I think the last 2 seasons, I think I picked 13th. They finished 12th, and then the season before I picked 11th, and I think they finished 11th or 12th.
Yeah, but all I care about is the Louis Vuitton luggage sales. So I mean, where are we with that? Like.
I would also like to point out that, Mike, you said like 17 ifs in your.
Yeah.
Well, there are ifs.
There were a lot of ifs.
This team has it. I said 8th, and I'm sticking with it. Okay.
Yeah, it's if FC.
But there are ifs. Like, there's no way you can go look at this team and say there aren't a ton of ifs with this team.
And that's before we even consider that we're like we're guests in our own barn this year, because the second World Cup happens, we're out of there and we're like on the outside looking in. So yeah,
But that
it's going to be
9-game
an
stretch is
interesting
going to
year.
be key. I mean, that 9-game stretch,
Yeah,
makes the season pretty much.
really does. Really,
So-
really does.
Just like to that point too, is I know we're gonna wrap up here soon. Just the fact that they haven't brought in their DP and understanding that that stretch is coming up, and how crucial that will be in terms of like determining TFC's success this season. I think it is a big problem at this
Huge.
point in time, or at least it could become a big problem. Like obviously it's still early. If a DP gets signed in the next 2 weeks, you still have majority of the season left to play. But I mean, it's tough to always measure like what will the impact of not being with the team during preseason will be, or what will the impact of not being a team start of the season will be. But in a way, you are playing catch up.
Yep.
But it's worked in the past, to be fair. Like 2019, when Paz came in, he came in end of March.
Yeah, but that team was still relatively good.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like
I was watching MLS Cup and I still didn't believe we were in it in 2019. I was like, "How is this happening? What did I sleep through half of the season?"
Well, I think the base of the team that they had in 2019 was clearly better than the one that we have now, right?
Yeah, I think we had a lot more utility players that could.
2019, there's a lot of summer additions too.
Yeah,
I mean, Nico.
Well, the biggest one is getting
Benazé,
Michael and Josie back from Gold Cup when we did.
Yeah, wow,
that sparked that run, and then Omar Gonzalez was unbelievable for 2 months. But enough of 2019.
One thing, John, do you have any Julio Cesar memories? We were talking about him on the podcast. We were talking on the podcast. We do.
Well, you were there. You were in Seattle for the away game. He's told this story on the show before. Yeah. Okay, everybody in there thought we were going to win MLS Cup.
For context, it's not out of nowhere, John. Like we do a new segment on the show where we talk about a random red of the day. It's just random players that have come through and play for Toronto FC, and there's no one better to ask an obscure Toronto FC question to than John Molinaro, who's lived it more than anybody
Forget
else.
Julio Cesar. Tell me about Mikhail Urasovsky.
Oh my God.
No, but you know what? Getting Julio was a pretty big deal at the time because, this was a Premier League goalkeeper, Brazilian national team goalkeeper. And so they get him still like in essentially the prime of his career. It was a massive, massive pickup for the team at the time. It was just unfortunate that he was just saddled with an incredibly unbalanced squad when you think about it, that 2015 season. But true gentleman. I mean, I remember talking to him once or twice and just very humble. I mean, he could have easily come in with like a big sort of ego and attitude. I'm, Mr. Joe Brazil, and I'm on the, I'm a Premier League player, but didn't, and fully embraced the city of Toronto, fully embraced playing in MLS, didn't have an attitude, and mentored people too. I mean, Joe Bendick was the backup goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, he was the starter essentially, but then Julio came in and he was relegated to the backup spot. And I've said this before. Joe Bendick was probably one of the most unlikable TFC players I've ever had. I mean, he was just a surly. I mean, he was grumpy. I mean, he was not. I don't know what was going on there, but dude was just. I never saw him smile ever. But has to be said. I mean, he took the demotion with a great deal of grace and humility, and forged a pretty good relationship and friendship with Julio, and really, dove headfirst into it in terms of being the backup and serving as an understudy under Cesar, and trying to learn and glean as much as he can. So, and Julio, to his credit, sort of embraced that too and did as much as he could to help Joe along. So, yeah, I mean, was only at TFC for a very short period of time, but a memorable pickup, and as I said, a really classy guy and player who, I think made a very small contribution to TFC's history.
I was talking about
cried like he won an Oscar when they presented him with his parting gift in the locker
ring
room.
Yeah.
Cried he was very emotional. Yeah,
but guys, I was talking about the other Julio.
The other Julio.
The other one.
Which one were you talking about?
the guy that we signed from Sporting Kansas City in preseason in 2013, who played like half a second.
The person that you're not supposed to
the
remember.
the better Julio
You're
Cesar.
not supposed to remember that Julio Cesar.
What was it? What was that? A Mo Johnson special that came in for like a cup of coffee?
That's probably a Mo special.
You know what? I completely forgot about that guy. Jeez.
So did he.
There's a lot of guys that came to TFC that you will have 100% forgot about. They were here for a cup of coffee and they left.
I don't have any sort of lasting recollections or memories, or I offer like absolutely zero insight on them. So
don't worry. I'm just bugging. That's exactly Julio Cesar I was talking about.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
We'll bring back Red of the Day next week. The show is running along, obviously, with a preview. But I'll give you reasons why my guy is Marvell Wynn. But dated a friend of mine. I'm kidding. Not picking Marvell Wynn now.
Okay, good. Well, now no one can pick Marvell Wynn. So he's crying now. I hope you're happy.
Marvell Wynn's a great guy.
Okay, I'm going to maybe pick him.
Long story. Anyway, all right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining Toronto Till I Die this week.
Thank you, John Molinaro, for joining us.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure having
JMO for joining, as always. TFC Republic, we tell you all the time, go get a subscription. It's worth it. And John, you're going to be out on the road for some of these games. So you're heading to Dallas this weekend, yes?
Yeah, I'm flying out to Dallas tomorrow, and then I'm going to be in Vancouver for the second game, and then Cincinnati for the third game. I think I ended up covering like 7 road games last year.
Did you go to Dallas last year?
No, because I didn't play Dallas last year.
Didn't play Dallas, yeah.
But the aim is to do like a little bit more, so probably 10 games, maybe 12, and then fingers crossed if there's a playoff game that's on the road. Don't laugh. Then
I said 8th. I'm sticking to 8th.
Yeah, I think
you don't drive, do you, JMO? Because Dallas Fort Worth is like quite the sprawl. It is,
but they play in Frisco, right? Which is like about half an hour outside of the city. So, I would have much preferred
barbecue, JMO.
Yeah, I would have much preferred a road trip to Austin. I think that would have been better, but
yeah, and it's a much more walkable city. I mean, I remember checking like, hey, let's go to this barbecue place, and it was like in Dallas, and by public transit, it was a 3-hour journey. I was like, that's not happening. So yeah, just fair warning, it is a big sprawl. Yeah, huge.
But no, I mean, like I said, I'm going to do a little bit more traveling than I did last year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right, perfect.
Forward to it. And anybody that hasn't subscribed to TFC Republic, I mean, I don't think anybody watching the show has subscribed to TFC.
You're probably
but if you haven't,
you
probably should
watching the show already.
Thanks, guys. That's very nice of you.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. And I'll see you in Vancouver. Looking forward to to that trip. It'll be a good time. All right, guys. Again, for the community, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We really do appreciate it. All the comments in there. Hi, Casey. And we will see you next week with another show. We'll recap.
We won't be talking about Marvel Win.
We'll bring up Marvel Win. Maybe we'll get him on the show. I doubt it. And then we'll go from there. Again, you'll find us on all the socials if you want to follow us and follow and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on Instagram at TTID Show. And yeah, just generally drop us a like, thumbs up. That'd be great. For Jeffrey P. Nesker and Michael Singh and John Molinaro, I'm Mike Newell. We'll see you next week. Cheers, everybody. Bye.
And wait, and baby, I'm TFC till I die.